Good afternoon, knife nerds. Today we are taking a look at the Quiet Carry Waypoint. And I've got packaging here. Pretty snazzy little box. And we've got some details here. Titanium. I don't know what that means. Satin. Okay. And so that SA is for satin finished blade. And then Quiet Carry on that side, and on the back it shows you a little graphic of the knife itself and their logo on the front. And it does have good solid sturdy foam in here, which is very nice. And then we've got our little warranty card here. We guarantee all our products against defects for the original owner. They're very clear about that. If you're not the original owner, you can just, kiss off. Yeah, I understand, but I don't really see that as a positive moment of truth. If the first thing you see when you open the box is something that's warning you that, if you didn't buy this brand new, they don't care about you. It's just not a really good motivator to me to love this company. But nice warranty card, I guess. Yeah, really dig the foam insert here and the show side presentation of the knife, the way this comes in the box, which is a magnetic close. Very cool, similar to a Koenig Arius box, only way smaller. And let's get this bad boy out here. It does have a nice cut out there to get your finger in to make it easy to get out. Now we've got here, this is just a plain bead blasted titanium. And yeah, very gentlemanly, plain, looking knife. And the reverse is pretty much similar, except you've obviously got the tooled size. The tooled sides of the screws on this side, and a pretty traditional wire clip, which is wow, that thing is seriously stiff. Let me try to pocket this thing. I haven't pocketed it. This knife was loaned into the channel by a good buddy. He wanted me to check it out. Actually, that goes in and out of pocket pretty good, and I will say that the retention is good, so that wire clip being that stiff is a positive thing in this case. Woohoo! Okay, yeah, let's not suck at that. That is not the knife's fault. That is totally me, because this is a very nice action. Okay, first off, let me get my goo off of the blade so you're not staring at it. Okay, it is very satin, and so every little smudge shows. First off, I freaking love this knife. So this to me it's a knife that, if you're going out to eat at a restaurant, you're going to a dressy event, this is a pretty ideal knife for that scenario. It's slim, it's thin, it's super compact, it's totally concealable with that wire clip. You're barely gonna notice that coming out of your pocket, and so it's kind of screaming gentleman carry to me. We've got a pretty traditional sort of drop point-ish, reverse tanto-ish kind of blade here, which is hollow ground. And one of the immediate standout things that I noticed as soon as I pulled this knife out of the box is just how thin this blade stock is. I mean, wow. This is almost Swiss Army thin, okay? And then it's hollow ground on top of that, and so you have an extremely slicey little utilitarian tool here that, man, this is a legit tool here. And so I find that blade stock being super thin, that is just really, really appealing to me on this knife. Now, action is riding on phosphor bronze washers. This action is so buttery smooth. I mean, it just flicks out. I haven't tried to spidey flick this yet. Let me give that a shot. Yeah, no, you're not getting your finger in there. That's a no-go. There's no room here to get your finger in there, unfortunately. So that's a no-go here. But the thumb deployment on this is phenomenal. It comes out, it rockets out with authority, and it really opens good once you know exactly how to flick it, which for me is to just push, kind of up. If you don't have your finger wrapped around here like I just did, that was again on me. So yeah, you're just kind of pushing up on that flipper tab, or flipper tab. You're pushing up on that thumb stud, and boom, it's coming out real nice. So once again, I probably I would probably go for the stone washed version in my case if I could, get it. Yeah, because this thing shows fingerprints like crazy. However, we have here a Vanax super clean steel on this knife. So this is a whole thing that Quiet Carry is basing this particular line of knives around. They are super corrosion resistant. And so what do we have here? I've got the website up here, the actual Quiet Carry website. Blade length 3.3 inches, total length 7.5 inches, marine grade stainless steel clip. That wire clip is marine grade stainless. It is a liner lock. The liner is LC200N, which is also an extremely corrosion resistant stainless. Or well, I have a slash here with Z-Finit. I don't even know what that is. That's a new one on me. Z-Finit. So I guess the liners come in different versions. Okay. And it has a ceramic detent, and it is riding on phosphor bronze washers. And it weighs 2.7 light little ounces with internal milling. I haven't actually looked in there. Let's see if we can get a little look at that internal milling. We're going to bust out ye old Olight. Yeah. That is... Okay. That's the liner side. Okay, there's your milling. So they've got little quarter size, or pennies, dime sized milled pockets on the show side scale, and pretty good amount of weight reduction there. And then the other side obviously is milled out for the liner. Duh. And so yeah, nice, super light carry, super compact, very slim, and yet a pretty good full size EDC length blade. So let's get the full hand view here. Yeah, that's, and then you've got this little finger choil for you to lock into here. There is some jimping. It's a little further up the blade than I would like it for my hand shape. It would have probably been a little bit better back here, behind the thumb studs. That's where my thumb naturally wants to land on this knife. So, but there is jimping. It's, when you press into it, it's functional. When you don't press into it, it's not aggressive. So that's good jimping. I like it. It's minimal. There's not much there. And they could have really just extended that all the way back to here and had more jimping there, and I think that would have been a little better choice there. But still, the jimping is there, so that's a plus. Is it drop shutty? No, it's not really meant to be like that. So, this is a washer, traditional washer knife, and but it is extremely nice action when you're not screwing it up because you can't get the right angle behind the camera. Yeah, awesome. Anyways, this is my first experience with a quiet carry knife of any kind, and I really dig this, man. It's kind of surprised me out of the box. I was like, oh, this is better than I expected it to be. Um, there's just a little chunk of titanium back here for a backspacer, and really, that kind of about covers it. There's just not a whole lot going on here. You know, it's a pretty plain Jane knife, but in a way that is super functional and super, purpose driven, because it's compact, it's concealable, and it's gentlemanly, for carrying in those environments like an office where you don't want to have some giant tactical knife that's going to scare the secretary there or whatever. This is for that. This is your dinner party knife, your office knife. That's what this is. And it being super ultra corrosion resistant means that you can carry it out to the beach, or you can carry it somewhere where you're in a really harsh environment, and it's not going to just corrode up on you and rust and suck. So very purpose driven type of a knife. And Quiet Carry has a few different models that just stay sold out all the time. Okay, they have the Drift and they have the Waypoint, I think, are their two most popular, and I haven't really looked at the other models personally because those two interested me the most. Now, cons. It's a bit pricey. So, this retails on the Quiet Carry website for $295. Okay, $300 for this little guy seems a bit rich. I would think this might be a little bit more swallowable if it were, $199. I mean, to me, this is a $200 knife. Now, why is the price is what it is? Maybe it's the Van X steel. It's not a super common steel that a lot of companies are using, and they're one of the few companies that's putting out a flagship product that uses this particular steel. I don't know if it's just a super duper expensive steel, or if they're just going on scarcity alone. Being one of the few manufacturers that uses this, maybe that allows them to justify that $295 price tag. But there's not a lot else, other feature-rich things about this knife that justify that. Build quality, I think the build quality feels like $295 build quality, but it's a tough price for me to swallow on this knife. The Drift is the same price, and I like that design a little better than this. It's more my design language. So maybe if I grab the Drift, I'll feel okay about that $295 price tag. But on the Waypoint, it feels like a bit of a stretch. $200, maybe you could get $240, and it'd be a little bit sweeter of a deal for somebody like me, my particular preferences. Because in that $300 price range, there's a lot of competition. There are a lot of knives that will get you. You're talking high dollar Spydercos and ZTs and Benchmades, and then all of your stuff being produced by We, and even some Riots produce knives in that price range these days. There's just it's a stiff competition out there at $300, and so how does this knife fall into that? Maybe for somebody that really needs that Van X steel, I don't know, maybe they're a lifeguard, they work at the beach, and they have to have something that's stupid corrosion resistant. This would be that guy's knife right here. Maybe it's for those people. Maybe it's just a hype train, and people are like, Van X super clean is the latest greatest thing, and I have to have it, and I will pay all of the dollars for the Van X super clean because it's clean and stuff. I don't know. Back to the blade here. Now, before I get to that, let's talk One thing my buddy that lent me this knife generously asked me to do was to make an assumption. He wanted me to make an assumption who the OEM manufacturer is for Quiet Carry. I think most people agree that these are Asian produced knives, and that much is known, but nobody really knows who exactly is making these knives for Quiet Carry. And when I first saw them, and my buddy had shown me the clip, I said that kind of looks like the clips that Riot did for Giant Mouse. And you can't really judge a book by its cover. When you're seeing this picture on the internet, it's a similar looking clip. It's also similar to the Spyderco wire clip. But when I got the knife, it was a tad bit thinner than the wire clips on the Riot produced Giant Mouse knives. So I kind of shot that out the door. But the big thing to me, he asked me, is this made by Riot? Which would explain the $295 price tag if it was produced by Riot. But as soon as I opened the box and flipped that blade for the first time, I said, there's no way this knife is made by Riot. Here's why. So, Riot has a very, very distinct belt satin finish that they do on all of their knives, regardless if they're OEMing for whoever. Their belt satin finish, you can tell it a million miles away because it's very distinct. Nobody else has a belt satin finish quite like Riot. Their grind lines are insanely crisp and sharp, and their belt satin is pretty rough. Now, I do have an example of that floating around here somewhere. Okay, there she is. Okay, so Riot produced knife with a belt satin finish. As you can see, these satin grind lines are very, very aggressive. This is a lower grit grind, like maybe this is like a 600 grit, maybe even lower. It could be a 400 grit. That's a pretty aggressive belt satin finish. Now, take note of how crisp those lines are between the transitions. These lines are just insanely crisp, right? That's a Riot ground blade. You can tell this a million miles away. Their belt satin is extremely distinct, and their grind lines are very distinct. This is a higher polished belt satin, like maybe a 1200 grit, a 1000 grit, and the line is between the grind and the flats is very washed out, rounded off, not very crisp at all. And so, no, Riot doesn't do this unless this was a specific thing that Quiet Carry requested. We want you to wash out the grind lines, and we want a higher polished satin. If that's something that Quiet Carry requested of Riot, well, then I could see it. But no, this is not how Riot grinds blades. Okay. So then he asked me to make that assumption. Who is the manufacturer? And I thought about it, and I said, well, the build quality is pretty darn exceptional. It's almost Riot level, but it doesn't feel like a Wee knife either. It doesn't feel anything like a Wee knife. The detent is just dialed in so good. Wee knives typically have stiffer detents in most knives, and it just doesn't feel like a Wee build to me at all. Although the thin blade stock might indicate Wee, because Wee has been known to do some smaller knives with super thin blade stocks like this. But this is not speaking to me and saying I was built by Wee knives. It's just not. So the only other Asian manufacturer that I feel is at this level of build quality up there is Best Tech. So if I had to make an assumption, I think this is probably produced by Best Tech. Maybe it could be a Taiwan manufacturer, maybe Spyderco's Taiwan manufacturer. I don't know, but to me, it's kind of saying Best Tech to me. And again, this is just an assumption. I'm just spitballing out there my thoughts and opinions on, who might have produced this. And I think Best Tech. So there's that. Other than that, man, this is the Quiet Carry Waypoint, a super cool little, gentlemanly knife with extreme corrosion resistance and concealability. And yeah, pretty cool knife. I like it. I like it a lot. And I want to check out a drift. And so look forward to one of those in the future. All right, man. You guys have a great rest of your day. Later.